I know, I know. Girl has been MIA. Listen, y'all. Life had been lifing just a tad bit. I celebrated my 25th birthday and I've just been going through the motions, trying to figure out what to do with my life, where I want to go with my life, what's next for me. Also started school, started my master's in social work. That's so exciting, but it has been a lot. But my goal for the end of this year into next year is to just get back on track and to get back to what I know I should be doing. Thank you guys for all the kind words. Even when I wasn't posting, I had so many people reaching out to me asking, "Where you at, girl? What's going on? You good? What's going on with the in between? Well, what's going on with the podcast?" And y'all, I love to hear it because honestly, I was a little discouraged at first. I felt like I wasn't really reaching who I thought I would or reaching the targeted audience I intended for this podcast to reach. But all of you guys' kind words have demolished those thoughts. And I'm back and I'm better and to try this new thing again. So let's get into it. So, trial and error with anything, I realized that I was trying to speak from points that I thought were relevant, when in reality, I needed to speak from points that God takes me through out the week. And so, starting, as you guys can see from the title, I'm going to speak a little on what I have been going through mental health wise, loneliness, and how my journey living alone in my 20s has been so far. So, a little background, I have been living alone the past almost year now, and it has been a journey. So, one of the first things I want to talk about when it comes to mental health, loneliness, and living alone in my 20s is what I wish I knew before moving. Y'all, I did a lot of research before moving. Could I have done more? Yes, but I wish I would have truly taken the time to count up all the costs when it came to moving. My biggest thing with moving was, can I afford it? Proximity to work and just getting out of the environment I was in. So those were the biggest things to me, and all the boxes were checked with those things. But I didn't look into the bigger picture. What does living alone come with besides finances, besides furnishing the home, besides having to feed myself, What else does living alone come with? And I'm going to tell you first and foremost, just going back through that checklist, do not go get that apartment with your next check. But if you must, just make sure that you have the funds to first pay your rent. And big emphasis on, if you're moving in the middle of the month, make sure that the money you have is enough to pay that plus the deposit, the fees. When you move in, yes, the rent may be prorated. But once you add in all the other fees you have to pay to move in, you're just about probably paying what you pay in a full month. Plus, the first comes very quickly if you're like me and do move in the middle of the month. So just make sure you have enough to pay all your fees, move in, prorated rent, plus what's coming up next. Plus, you have to furnish your place. I'm not saying you need a bed and you need two 100-inch TVs. Like, I can't, no. I moved in with what I already had, which was quite a bit because in college, I did live in student housing apartments. And so I had a lot of things. I had a bed already, mattress, TV, just the basics. So I did eventually have to purchase, other little things that needed to be filled in around the home, plus a couch. So don't feel pressured to have everything together your first night or first week. It took me maybe a month or so in before I actually got a couch. And now here I am almost a year later, and I'm just now really fully furnishing my home, which fully furnishing I mean by just little things to bring this space together and make it a home. So if you got it, kudos to you. But if you don't and you really need to move based on work, peace of mind, which I say is very important. If you have it and you need to move for peace of mind, I say do it. But just make sure you have enough to get you by in the beginning. You have to eat. You need gas if you have a car. Just so many things that you have to factor into the move. So make sure that you are counting all the costs. Another thing I wish I knew before moving, after the initial peace phase, you have to deal with you. And that is where my biggest point ties in loneliness and mental health. I was living in an environment prior to this that I was ready to get out of, but honestly, it was the first stepping stone into living alone. It made me dig back into some of the childhood trauma I have shared with you guys in prior episodes. It opened up some of those wounds that I just tried to patch up, and I had to actually face those things. I had to deal with them. And going from there to here and not having the distractions I did have in that environment was eye opening. I had to learn who I was outside of people. I had to learn how to be okay with being alone. I had to pull my own self out of situations. I didn't have, well, I'm just gonna go in the other room and talk to my mom. I'm just gonna go in the other room and talk to my sister because there was a point in time where I did live with my sister as well. I didn't have that anymore. I had to deal with Mila head on and I had to heal. I had to bring the wounds that I had opened in my previous living environment, and I had to actually put my big girl pants on and allow those wounds to breathe, and I had to go through the motions, and I had to learn that in order to be whole, in order to be okay with myself, I had to learn to face myself, and that is something that I did for the longest time, and I continue to this day. It's not easy, and I'm not saying it gets any easier. There are some days that are better than the other. There are some moments where I still sit in my room and I cry. I don't wanna deal with myself. I'd rather just invite my friends over and distract myself, but people can't always be here. People have their own lives, and sometimes you just have to be alone. So like I said, there are times where I'll sit here and I'll cry, I'll not wanna deal with it. Even through that, I have learned that even in marriage and relationships, there are still times you have to be alone. So you have to learn to deal with yourself. And until I realized that, until I finally was content with being alone with myself, I suffered. And like I said, it's still not easy, but I will say that I have came a long way. I would say couple weeks or so in, the peaceful days are still there, of course, but there are nights that really weigh heavy on me, and I'm just like, "Why do I have such a lonely feeling right now?" And those are the nights that I realize that there is something God is calling me to pay attention to, or I need to look back at something that He has been trying to show me. I've been trying to run from or ignore, so pay attention to those lonely moments because more than likely, there is something God is calling you to pay attention to or look at again. Y'all, another thing I wish someone would have told me about living alone in my 20s, having company over, you're gonna have to check your people. Y'all, you cannot invite everyone to your home. And people may not like you for it. They may despise you for it. They may say, "Oh, you got your little place, you acting funny, this and that." Y'all, You cannot invite everyone to your home. Not everyone is going to respect your space, your boundaries as you would hope them to be. And you'd be surprised at who won't respect the boundaries that you set into place in your home, y'all. Again, you live and you learn, and sometimes you have to experience things to actually learn from them. And I have learned you cannot invite everyone over. You have to set boundaries and you have to stick to those boundaries regardless of what's going on, regardless of who's over, regardless of who you have to check. You have to set your boundaries. You are the one that pays rent in your home. You are the one that furnished your home. You are the one that bought these things for yourself. You're the one that has to lay your head down here and sleep peacefully at night. So keep that peace. Don't let anyone come into your space and pollute that peace. Not everyone has the best interest of you at heart. Not everyone carries the best energy. So make sure that you're protecting your peace, your safety, your comfort of your home. Not everyone can be in your bedroom. Oh, that's another thing, y'all. Don't let everyone in your bedroom. I used to hear, and I still believe growing up, that once you move in with a partner and you're married, but even before marriage, if you do decide to move in with a partner, teach his own. You shouldn't let anyone into your bedroom because it can cause separation. And I say even before that, even as a single person, don't let everyone in your bedroom. This is where you lay your head and sleep. The spiritual realm is heaviest in your bedroom. Where you're sleeping is when, the spiritual realm is most active. You're dreaming, you're, most vulnerable. You can't let everyone in that space. Be mindful of who you are letting in your bedroom. If you can help it, don't let a soul in there except your partner. So keep that in mind as well. But even beyond the bedroom, just, your home in general. Just be mindful of who you're letting in, who you're letting stay over, what you're letting in your home, what you're letting occur in your home. Be mindful and you'll see who respects your space, you'll see who truly values what you have been graced with. So having a space to yourself and inviting your outside world into it shows you and tells you a lot about the people you keep company with. And it'll cause a lot of division. It'll cause a lot of people's honestly get cut off. And again, you'll be surprised by what happens once you have your own space. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about what I'm finding joy in. So, I find joy in some of the things I say might be a little contradicting, but if you get it, you get it. If you understand, you understand. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. But like I said, I do have my lonely times, and sometimes when I am graced with the opportunity to not have to face anything in the moment, I invite my friends over and it's fun, it's cute, but I get to kick them out at the end of the night. I don't gotta deal with the roommate, y'all. I get to live alone, and if something isn't done, if something is broken, if something isn't the way it should be, I have no one to blame but myself at the end of the day. There isn't any, "Oh, well, this month this bill is due," or rent is due, light bill due, electric bill, whatever is due. I have to worry about, is the other person gonna keep up their end of the deal? Are they going to put in, or am I gonna have to pull all the weight this month? I have full authority over everything in here. If a bill isn't paid, if the dishes aren't done, if the floors aren't swept, mopped, whatever is the case, it's all on me. I don't have to worry about another person coming in behind me and messing up what I put together. Unless, like I say, your friends are over and whatever. But for the most part, I have authority here. And I get to kick people out at the end of the night. Go home. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. Like I finally get that saying now. Or, when you were growing up and your parents were like, I just don't feel like having company over today. Y'all, I get it. When I get off work sometimes, I wish to ignore people. Not today. Today. Not today. I just need to be. I'll come home, I'll lay on my couch and sleep there, wake up in the middle of the night, come get in the bed. Y'all, it's the most peaceful thing ever, honestly. And I love it. But going back to the whole, having to divide bills and everything, if you have a partner, that's a whole different story. When you find someone that can be held accountable and they can hold you accountable, that's different. That's a partner. That's someone that you are hoping to do life with. You're able to truly speak through and talk through those things, and you get to decide, how things are gonna go, who pay what, how things are paid. But when it comes to just a regular friend, roommate, y'all have had my fair share of roommates, and I will say it's been a journey, but not everyone's story is the same, but that's not what this episode is about. We can get into that other episode. Another thing I find joy in, learning and failing. Y'all, I can cook and it can be disgusting and nobody will know but me. I can cook and it'll be amazing and nobody will know but me. I learn, I'll cook, I'll add new things, I'll take things away. I'll find a recipe on TikTok and make it. It could be the most amazing thing. It could actually be really good to someone, but to me, it could be disgusting and I could throw it away and no one would know but me. Not saying I'm being wasteful, but y'all, sometimes you can cook things down to the T and it's just not appeasing to your taste buds. That's okay. I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm realizing what I like and what I don't like when it comes to food. I'm realizing that sometimes I can come home and I have food put out for the night to cook and I won't feel like it. So I'll go down the street and get food. That's okay too. Just being able to figure life out and do what I want has been amazing. Also, cleaning, learning how I like to clean, when I like to clean, how I like to clean. I usually try to clean throughout the week. Sometimes my week can be hectic and it'll just get pushed to the weekend. That's okay too. Nothing or anyone is perfect. So just really figuring out what products I like to use, how I like to clean, what I like to clean together, what I like to clean separate, what days I like to clean what on. It has just been a journey. And just perfecting my own personal routine, waking up, what I like to do when I get home from work, how my night goes, how my morning goes. I get to figure out Mila by herself. And I will say this is the first time in my entire life that I have truly got to learn me outside of anyone. I spent a lot of my younger years in relationships, living with other people, basing my life off of other people. This is the first time in a long time I have found myself in me and in God, of course. And it has been amazing. Also, budgeting, y'all. Say when you move out, like going back to people say, save up, yes, save up. But if you're like me and you gotta go get that apartment with your next check, girl, do that. It teaches you how to budget. You have no choice. You have bills to pay. You have rent. You have electric bills. You have other little miscellaneous expenses you have to do. It'll teach you how to budget so well. When I tell y'all I have never ever budgeted so well in my life. Y'all, there have been times where in college I would have 2 cents to my Y'all, I have never been so well with money in my life. And I will say there are times where, I might splurge a little bit. I work hard. I have a career and I work very hard in my career. So I deserve to splurge here and there. But y'all, I have been enjoying financial freedom in a sense, y'all. I will be transparent. I was in a lot of debt at one point in college, and I finally got out. And I vowed to myself that I would never put myself in such a predicament ever again. And I have stuck to my word, and it has been the most amazing time of my life, y'all. So, budgeting, y'all. Budgeting. I will say that this has been such an experience, and I am learning who I am. And I know that living alone is allowing me to become who I need to be for my next chapter. And I don't know what all that entails, personally, career wise, if it comes to, having a family, a marriage, children. I know everything that I'm learning and I'm growing into now is allowing me to become who I need to be for all of those things. And I'm excited to see how, when, where life takes me next. So now I'm gonna go a little bit into, just a mental health piece and my loneliness and how I've been bouncing back from those days where I just feel down and I'm not really sure how to live with myself a little bit. Like I said, some days are better than others. I have came a long way. I would say at the beginning of this journey, it was a lot harder. I wasn't trying to deal with myself. I was all in, I'm ready to. I don't even know, y'all. I was just ready a lot of things. I thought about getting a roommate next lease term. I thought about settling with people I knew probably weren't any good for me just for the sake of having someone in my home. But I've grown and I've became a lot stronger mentally and my prayer life has exceeded. And that's my first thing. I have prayed and prayed and prayed a lot, a lot, a lot, y'all. I have prayed so much. I have gotten to the habit of praying daily. There was a point transparently, I would go days, weeks without praying, but I would say this past year of living alone, I have not skipped a beat. I prayed every single day. I pray for safety. I pray for mental clarity. I pray for those that I love. And also, I tie it into journaling. I journal a lot. I don't journal as much as I used to in the beginning, but I will say that I will here and there when I feel like the day has taking a toll on me. I will journal and I'll write my thoughts out and I will encourage myself in my journaling. I'll write out how I'm feeling for the day and then I'll put a little encouragement in there for me. And it helps writing these things down because a lot of days mirror others and I can go back and see how I felt on a similar day and read the encouragement that I wrote for myself on that day. And it'll help me get through the day or the night or wherever I'm going through. Again, like I said, I like to have my friends over and kick them out at the end of the night. I'm in my hosted area, y'all. I love having my people over here. Like I said, you learn who you can and cannot invite for sure, and I have learned that. But those that I do keep inviting back over, I love having them over here. It's a time, y'all. It's a time. And, sometimes things can get a little heated, but I enjoy having my friends over. I enjoy hosting. I enjoy being a safe place by my friends, even when I don't have a whole gang of people over, even just throughout the week, individuals will come by and they'll come and we'll just talk and share different inspiration with each other. And I just love it. I love having my people over. But like I said, I also like kicking them out at the end of the night. You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. Also, I have been bouncing back from my little down days by making my apartment a home. I love just buying new things and making my apartment feel more homey and like it's mine because honestly, I will say the first few months when your apartment is empty and not much is in there, it is a little depressing. I can't lie. It just makes you feel like you're just there. But just, accumulating new things and adding personal touches that make the apartment or your home you really brings it all together and makes it feel much more like, I enjoy being here. I want to be here. I want to stay here. I don't want to move, but I know if the time is right and it is time for me to move on, I know that the next place, the next phase will be even better. So for now, I'm just thankful and I'm just learning to be appreciative of what I do have and what God has blessed me with because, I could have nothing. I could be who knows where, but I am truly thankful for the space, the place, and everything that it has came with. So, you guys, I just want to leave you guys with a little encouragement this week today for hopefully I won't be gone that long, but until the next time that you guys hear from me. And that is to just be appreciative of what you have because honestly, there are people that have less than what sometimes we feel is not a lot at all. So just be appreciative of what you have. And I encourage you this week to journal I'm not hoping that you have a bad day, but we all have our days. So the next time you have one of those days, even if you don't own a journal, find somewhere in your phone to write a note to yourself and just pour out how you're feeling. And then leave yourself with that encouragement and save that note. Pin it to the top of your notes app or bookmark that page in your journal or save that piece of paper and put it somewhere safe so that the next time you have a day just like it, you can go back and read your encouragement to yourself and help yourself to get through that time that you're having. Thank you guys so much for listening to my little spiel of an episode. I hope it encouraged you. I hope it gave you some motivation if you've been thinking about moving or if you've been trying to figure out what should I do. I hope this episode was able to provide you with the encouragement you needed for your decision or just for your week. I hope you guys have an amazing week and I will talk to you guys soon. See ya.